Welcome to the From My Stand podcast with Matt Hinkle. Whether you are an avid hunter, a novice, or someone interested in the sport, Matt has a unique perspective to share. Sit back, relax, and kick your boots up as Matt shares what he's seeing from his stand.
Hi friends, thanks for joining us today. I'm your host, Matt Hinkle, and archery season is right around the corner. In fact, in some states, it has already started. And so here in my home state of Ohio, we're about 3 weeks away from bow season starting. Just a quick reminder, Sunday, September the 21st at 9 p.m., we're going to be doing a live chat by the Campfire. That'll be exactly 1 week before bow season starts in my state of Ohio, in my home state. And so we'll be kind of talking, deer hunting, deer strategy. I'll have a special guest on that night, and we're going to have a really good time. So I hope you'll plan on joining us that evening for that. But today, I want to talk to you about putting together your strategy, putting together your game plan for the upcoming hunting season. Because if you haven't done that yet, it is time. So I'm going to kind of show you how I go about doing that and what my process looks like. And we're going to talk just a little bit about scouting, because if you haven't done it already, it is time to go. You need to figure out where you're going to be hunting so that you can have a good and successful hunting season this year. So the way I usually approach my hunting season is I break it up into a few different parts, okay? And when it starts, we're going to call that first section of the season, or that first chunk of the season, we're going to call it the early season. And I consider that opening day till about the third week of October. We start getting rut activity, kind of pre-rut, but still you start seeing a difference in the behavior in the bucks about the third week of October. I'll just tell you this, before the third week of October, I don't do any kind of calling. I don't do any rattling, anything like that. Now, I'm not saying that you can't. I'm not saying that it never works. I'm just saying I don't do it until about the third or fourth week of October. I don't want to start that stuff too early and educate deer too soon before it really starts being more effective. So I look at opening day to about the third week of October as part one of hunting season, the early season. And I do have a game plan for those first 3 or 4 weeks. And I want to talk to you about that tonight. I'll go ahead and kind of tell you what that game plan entails and what it looks like. Obviously, you won't have the exact same game plan I do, but you can take some of the things that we talk about in this episode and just sort of extrapolate it and apply it to your own situation, okay? But anyway, so I've got 2 spots I plan on hunting those first few weeks of the season. I don't really plan on hunting them beyond that unless they're just really panning out. If they're really looking good, obviously you always want to stick with a hot hand. If you got something that's working, don't change it. But I'm not going to go into what I think will be my hotter stands until later, until we get a little bit more into the rut. Certain areas that I hunt around the rut, I stay out of them in the early season, and I don't want to get in there and disturb them. So I've got some other areas that I'm going to be hunting those first couple of weeks, and they are public land. Neither one of these is on private land. They're both on public land. And one of them is local. One of them is about 20 minutes from where I live, and the other one is about 2 hours from where I live. Let's talk about the one that's only about 20 minutes away, first of all. Now, I'm going to see if the camera can come in here. And cameraman, are you able to see this? Okay, just kind of stay on this map. Now, this is a public road right here. This is not a public road. This is not a public road. This is like a gravel lane. And there is, I don't know how well the camera can see it, but there's a little fuzzy spot right there. And that is a parking area right there. Also, this is a public road right here. And this is a little parking area. And this is just like a little gravel lane. It's not really a road, it's just kind of a gravel lane. Now, this area here is all public land. This area up here is private land. On the other side of this public road, this is private land. Now, earlier in this podcast, back in the winter when we were talking about off-season scouting, I said that the first thing you want to find in your hunting area is cover or security. Now, I have done that in this area. So here's what I prioritize when I'm trying to figure out where to hunt in an area. Number one, I want to find their security and their cover, because that's where they're going to spend most of their daylight hours. Number two, you want to find their feeding area and their food source. Number three, you want to locate travel routes that connect the two things. And then number four, you want to determine access and an exact stand location. Now, a little bit later in the season when the rut comes in, you can factor things like scrapes and rubs and things like that into the mix. But right now we're looking for basically four things: security and cover, feeding and food source, trails that connect those two things, and exactly where you're going to put your stand or blind and how you're going to access it. Now, I've already scouted this area. I've been in here several times, and I have found that right here, and by the way, I encourage you to do what I'm doing right here. This is a map. This is off of Google Maps, and it's just a satellite image. And this is just like a gray paint marker that shows up good on these maps. But this is high ground, and we're going to call that cover. This area right here is thick. It's the highest ground on the property. Now, I must admit, this is mostly flat farmland, and so it's kind of featureless. There's not a lot of high ground here, but there is a little knob right here, and I think this is where the deer are bedding. So we've got our cover figured out. Okay, now I think the deer are feeding right up here in this ag field. This marker's not doing real good on this. Call that the food source. And this is all agricultural up here. And so I think these deer, what they're doing is they're spending their days in the cover. They're spending their evenings in the food source. And I have found that right here, right where this road bends, is the heaviest trail, where they're kind of coming out of these woods and going into that food source. But there's another trail that kind of goes like this. So there's two ways that they're going in and out. So here I've got all of the main ingredients of what I'm looking for. Now, another thing that you might want to do in your game plan when you're coming up with your strategy and when you're coming up with your game plan is you want to kind of identify, and I apologize for my roosters. These chickens are loud during the day and these roosters are making all kinds of noise. I hope that you can still hear me. But one thing that I like to try to do on my game plan map is I'll just draw some indicator arrows. And what we're going to say is this arrow indicates PM deer movement. And this arrow is going to indicate AM deer movement. So in the morning, your deer are going to be likely to be coming in this direction. In the evening, they're going to be coming in this direction. Now, also, you should know that this direction here is north, and that direction is west. So our prevailing wind is coming from this way. So the prevailing wind is coming from this way. So what I plan on doing is making this area that's about 20 minutes from my house an evening hunt only, an evening hunt only. And I think what I'm going to be doing is parking right here, right in that parking lot, and then walking down this trail. And then it kind of, there's a thin area right here. You got woods and you got a thicket, but it's kind of thin right here. And I think what I'm going to do is hook around and come in this way for a stand location. And you'll kind of see that that's a logical approach to this area. And I'm going to try to get out in front of these deer. Now, if there's much of a wind, you're not going to be able to hunt it. You won't be able to hunt it on a day with a heavy wind, but I think if there's light to no wind, I think you can get in there and cut these deer off in the evening. And so that's kind of my game plan on this. Now, look, there is no game plan that's perfect. Every game plan has flaws. There's no deer hunting situation where everything is exactly the way that you want it. There's imperfections in this plan, but the important thing is to have a plan. Now, sometimes when you start hunting, you're going to realize what the flaws in your plan are, and you can change them. You always reserve the right to change those plans if the situation on the ground deems that it's necessary. But the important thing is to have a plan and stick to it. Now, let me show you this other piece of property, and this one is further from home. This one is 2 hours away. It's out by the cabin, by our family cabin. And this is a little bit of a hillier country, okay? And here I've got a picture of this situation. And what we got going on here, let me just show you what we got going on. This is a public road right here. This is a public road. And then this blue line is a creek. And I'm just going to tell you, it's not just a little brook. It is a pretty serious creek. You would need hip or chest waders to cross it. But the place I want to hunt, let me just point to it. I want to hunt right in here. This is the area that I want to hunt in. And here's the reason I want to hunt it. You can see that there is high ground here, here, and here. And there's a ravine right there. There's a ravine right there. And it all comes out into a ravine right here. Now, this area here is really thick. At the bottom, at the base of these ridges, it's really, really thick. And then right here is a feeding area. Now, this map is situated where that is north, that is west, and the wind, the prevailing wind, is going to be coming from this direction. Okay. So what my game plan, what I would like to do, I think deer are using this thicket and this high ground. Now, we discussed thickets and high grounds in earlier videos on scouting. And so if you want more information about that, go and check out those videos. And there's a whole lot more about that. But I think what the deer are doing is they're finding their cover up in this area and their food source down in this area, and their evening movement is in this direction. So what I'm going to do, the approach I'm going to have is I'm going to park right here. There is a place to park there. And I've already been on the ground. I've already scouted this area, and I've explored the possibility of coming in this way, and I've explored the possibility of coming in this way. This way, I don't think I'm going to use. It's not real practical. I think what I'm going to do is come along this creek, stay right with the creek, come up, and try to set a stand up right here. Now, again, I know the prevailing wind comes out of the west there, but that doesn't mean every time if the wind is, if it's a windy day coming out of the west, I'm not going to be hunting that spot. Okay. Certainly not a south wind. I wouldn't be able to hunt it with a south wind. But I think if there's no wind, a north wind, or even like a northwest wind, I think if I set up right here, I can catch those deer coming down out of this drainage and down into the feeding area. Now, again, when you're scouting and you're coming up with a game plan, that's all a hypothesis. It's all a guess. We'll have to get in there and hunt it and see how it goes. And remember, when I talked about early season strategies just a couple of weeks ago, we said, don't be afraid to change. I'm going to be using a climbing stand the first few weeks of the season. I won't use a climbing stand later in the year, but I use a climbing stand early in the year because early in the season, you got to be ready to move. You got to be ready to be mobile. Don't be afraid of being wrong. Okay. Here's how you know you're right or wrong: by hunting an area. You scout and then you hunt. If when you're hunting, you find out, hey, I wasn't right about some things, don't be afraid to change. Don't be too proud to change, and make sure you got a setup that is mobile enough to where you can change tactics if things aren't working. But here's what I'm going to do on the From My Stand podcast as we go through the hunting season. We're going to have weekly updates. I'm going to let you know exactly how this is going. We will even have some footage and we'll do some things right out from out in the field. But we'll let you know how this is going for those first couple of weeks. Drop in our comments. Let me know how you're doing in your season this year. But the biggest thing is have a game plan. Have a game plan. Now, I know nowadays you can use like Onyx and all kinds of different mobile apps on your phone that can kind of help you get your game plan. I'm just kind of old school. I still carry maps around with markers and clipboards and things like that. But it's all doing the same thing. Make sure that you have a game plan that considers where you can park, what your approach is going to be, what the prevailing wind is going to be, and then where the deer are finding cover, where the deer are finding food. Okay. And we'll do weekly updates and we'll keep touch throughout this hunting season. I want to know how you're doing and I'll let you know how I'm doing. Okay. Well, don't forget about that live chat by the campfire on Sunday, September 21st at 9 o'clock p.m. That is 1 week before bow season starts here in the great state of Ohio. And I hope that you'll join us. If you are finding this channel to be helpful, if it is adding value to your life in some way, would you give us a subscribe and like, turn on your notifications, give us a like, leave a comment, and it will really help grow this channel and help us to be able to do more to be a help to you. I started this channel not as an expert in deer hunting, but I started this channel to do just a few basic things. Number one, I want to be educational. I've been hunting for about 30 years now, and I want to share the things that I've learned with people that are just starting out or people that have been doing it for a while. Also, we want to entertain. We want the channel to be entertaining and have an entertainment side to it. But then also, and probably more than anything, I'm just trying to be an encouragement to hunters. I know that hunting can be somewhat discouraging and sometimes it can be daunting, especially when things don't go according to plan. And so let me just kind of be that voice in your ear that encourages you not to quit, keep going, and I hope you have a great season this year. Well, thanks for joining us today. I'm your host, Matt Hinkle, and that's how I see it from my stand.
Thank you for listening today. Be sure to tell your buddies and follow us on your favorite podcasting platforms. Y'all take care.